Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's hearing. Today we're going to start hearing important evidence from people who were living in the tower at the time of the fire. Yes, Mr. Miller.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, good morning. Can I now please call Antonio Roncolato?
I swear by Almighty God.
I swear by Almighty God.
That the evidence I shall give.
That the evidence I shall give.
Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
Good. Thank you very much, Mr. Roncolato.
Thank you.
Sit down, make yourself comfortable.
Yep.
All right. Yes, Mr. Millett.
Good morning, Mr. Roncolato.
Good morning.
Can I start, please, by asking you to give the Chairman your full name?
Antonio Roncolato.
Now, on behalf of the inquiry first, I want to thank you personally very much indeed for coming here today and for continuing to assist the Chairman in his search for the truth. Your contribution is very much valued. I understand it would be, or may be, tough for you to sit here and relive events of the night. So if at any time you need a break, please just signal and we can take a break. My questions are supposed to be short and simple. Sometimes they're not. And if you want me to repeat the question, I'm very happy to do that, or to put it in a different way. And again, I'm very happy to do that. Also, I should just say that sometimes when you're answering, I may have to look at my screen or to look at some documents. That it doesn't mean I'm not listening to your answer. Okay. And as with all the survivors of this fire who are going to be coming to give evidence in the coming weeks, you've confirmed to us that your evidence will be limited to phase one of the inquiry and the issues around that, and that my questions today will therefore focus on the events of the night. Now, you've made 3 written statements for the inquiry, for which we are very grateful. Can we please have the first of those, which is IWS 50894? And that's the first page of your first statement, and you can see it on the monitor on your desk. Can we look, please, at the last page of that statement, which is page 18? And you see a signature there. Is that yours?
Yes, it is.
And have you read this statement recently?
Yes, I did, yes.
And can you confirm for us that its contents are true?
Yes, they are, yes.
Can we now please have the second statement that you did, which is IWS 922, dated the 10th of July 2018. Is that your signature?
It is indeed.
Thank you. And again, have you read this statement recently?
I did, yes.
And again, can you confirm for us that its contents are true?
They are, yes.
Thank you. Now, I think finally you've provided a third statement, and that's IWS 1109. Is that the first page of that statement?
It is, yes.
And if we look at the third page, we can see that it's dated the 27th of September 2018, and there's a signature above it. Is that your signature?
It is indeed, yes.
And again, have you read this statement recently?
I did, yes.
And can you confirm for us that its contents are true?
They are true, yes.
Thank you. Now, in that statement, if we can just go back to it, you can see that in paragraph 3, you've set out a very helpful table where you've given times, or tried to give times, for photographs that you took on the night, and which you've exhibited to your first statement. And you also make corrections to paragraph 77 and 78 of your statement, of your first statement. If we just turn to the next page of this statement. And I just want to make sure that that is clear to everybody in the room. There seems to be page 2 missing. No, there it is.
That's what you want to know.
So you can see the corrections that you made at paragraphs 5 and 6, respectively to paragraphs 77 and 78 of your first witness statement. You provided a number of exhibits to that first statement, and we need to put those into the record as well. And they are AR1 to AR12. which is IWS 892, AR13, which is IWS 924, and AR14, which is IWS 923. And just say that everybody else is aware, those are exhibits of floor plans and a set of photographs. And the floor plans show the layout of your flat and the floor, and they've been marked by you. And can I just ask you, are the photographs, with the one exception that you've identified, which is the one I think taken by your son, the photographs that you yourself took on the night?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And we'll be looking at some of those photographs later on. Can I just give a general warning before asking for a photograph taken on the night to be displayed, which is that some people might find those photographs distressing, and those who do should just be aware of the fact that we will be looking at some of those pictures as we go along. I will give a more specific warning as we come to them. Now, can I just ask you this, Mr. Roncolato? I think you've told the inquiry that the photographs that were taken on the night were taken with your mobile phone. Is that right?
Yes, it is correct.
And is it right that your phone was damaged after the fire?
Yes, it was.
And I think it's right that you lost those photographs and also a verbal account that you recorded into the phone.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes. But the photographs that you've exhibited, is this right? You are ones that you sent to friends and family, and those that you've exhibited, are those they sent back to you?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now, can we start with an internal photograph of your flat taken before the night of the fire, which is IWS 892, page 5, which is exhibit AR2. Could you just describe for us the room we see there?
This is my living room. You can see the television, the curtains, new windows, sofa. On that occasion, we were watching a football game, so my home, our home.
And which direction do those windows face?
Those ones would face east.
Those face east. Okay. So could you just describe the view that you had from those windows?
Amazing view right through to the city. You would see the iconic landmarks of London and the swimming pool downstairs, and amazing view, basically very, very nice, very beautiful.
And just so for people who aren't that familiar with the layout of the tower, what could you see to your right if you looked out of the window?
To the right, I would see towards Westfield, if you know what I mean, towards the underground station, but I would have to turn quite to an angle. So, but the beautiful view is right in front of us. So, having no buildings in front of us was beautiful.
And to your left, what could you see?
The academy, and in front of us the leisure centre.
Right. Now, you, I think, lived in your flat on the 10th floor, flat 72, for something like 27 years before
Correct.
the fire. And you had, I think, a secure council tenancy with RBKC.
Correct.
And then later with the TMO, is that right?
Yes.
And in June 2017, could you just tell us who was living with you?
In June 2017, my son Christopher was living with me at the tower, and yes.
And anybody else?
Well, my sister-in-law was living with us as well, but she was not in the tenancy agreement.
I see. Now, turning to the marked plan of the layout of your flat, which you did for us, can we please look at that? That's IWS 892 at page 2. This is a plan that you prepared, I think, with some assistance when preparing your statement. Is that right?
Correct.
And the living room there is marked, I think, as C.
Yes.
So the two windows we've been looking at in the photograph, are those the ones marked 2 and 3?
Yes, correct.
Right. But you also have 4 and 5.
Yes.
And what was the view from windows 4 and 5?
That would look at the underground station and the Westfield.
Yes. And then if we go to the bedrooms, which I think are marked D and E. Is that right?
D and E, yes.
Yes. You would have looked, I think, again south
Yes.
towards the walks. Just help me understand this plan. Was there a division or some sort of wall between C and D?
Yes, of course there was, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you could only get into D from the hall, not from C. Not
Exactly, yes, from L, basically. From the
L.
corridor, yes.
Exactly. And looking at A, is that your kitchen?
Yes, A is the kitchen.
Right. Can I just ask you, from any of the windows that we see there, how close to the base of the tower could you see?
Oh, all the way down.
All the way down?
Yes.
Could you see where the wall of the tower met the ground?
Yes, if you lean out quite a bit, yes, you would, yes.
Right. Okay. Now, can I take you then to... well, let's just clarify one or two things first before we leave this plan. Just identify J. On J, you say cupboard, old gas meter boiler. And then you've marked at 21 on this map, and it's on the next page of this plan. You call it proposed new location of boiler. Could you just help us identify those? So J is at the top of the drawing, under 6, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that where the old boiler was?
Yes.
And then the new boiler, just to be clear, where was that?
The new boiler, the original place for the new boiler would have been, according to the plan, by the entrance, number 21.
Right.
However, I did not have installed in there, but back into position 6J.
Right. I see. So it went into where it was before?
Yes.
Very good. Can I then ask you to turn, please, to your statement, your first statement, and go to paragraph 12. And we'll look at it together. You say, a new front door was fitted around 5 to 6 years before the fire, but I cannot remember the exact date. I opted for a white door with 2 mottled glass panes. It had a letterbox with brushes. Initially, the new door was very heavy and difficult to open. After I called the TMO to repair this, they removed the mechanism from the new door so it would stay open unless you physically closed it. It felt a lot lighter. I had no further issues with the front door after this time. First of all, can I just ask you about this new front door? Do you know why a new front door was fitted?
I think it was part of a renewal project from the council, from the TMO, to have new doors installed. And and we were given the choice of what design we would have, and I opted for that one.
Okay. Did anybody give you any fire safety advice about these doors at that time?
No.
Okay. And what were the choices? You say I opted for a white door with 2 mottled glass panes. What were the other choices? Do you remember?
Some others would be totally without any glass. Some other only with a part of it at the top, with, let's say, half moon, and so on. So right. I opted for this one.
Okay. You then go on to say that initially the new door was very heavy and difficult to open. Can I just ask you, was it the weight of the door that made it difficult, or was it the door closer mechanism that made it heavy?
It was the door close mechanism that would really, you would have to put an effort to close the door and back to open the door and then to close it again. Right. So that's why it was really difficult.
Okay. Would the door slam shut? Very.
Yes, I think yes. It would really, the moment you go out, it would push you out.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was like a bit heavy. Yeah, so basically difficult to open, but very easy to close, and it would push you somehow.
Now, you say you called the TMO to repair the door. Who did you call? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember. Perhaps the TMO, the line that is provided to us to have contact with them in case of emergency or repairs. Right. And shortly after they came and they cut off this chain that would hold the door to the frame, and the door was much lighter.
Right. Did they give you any advice about whether it was sensible to cut off the chain?
Zero advices.
Right. Did the London Fire Brigade ever inspect your front door after they'd cut the chain off? After the TMO had cut the chain off?
No, no.
Were you ever advised to refit the closer mechanism?
No.
To the best of your knowledge or memory, Mr. Roncolato, did other residents in the tower have their door closers removed in the same way you did?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay. Now, can I ask you to look at paragraph 14 of your statement? You say, prior to the fire, new windows were fitted, and I had an issue with a draft coming in through the windows even when they were closed. And then you go on to say, lower down that paragraph, I also experienced a draft coming from underneath the window in the kitchen, and the window labelled number 2 in green in the living room on the flat's floor plan exhibited as AR1. I remedied this by covering the gap with plastic filler to stop the draft. First, can we just identify exactly which window we're talking about by reference to your plan at AR1? We can please go back to that. That's IWS 892 at page 2. If we can just go back a page, thank you. That's helpful. If you go to window marked 2 in green, could you just identify that for us?
Yes, but that was not the window where the draft came in initially.
Right, which were the windows where the draft
came in? The window
in
the kitchen.
I see.
That I basically fixed myself with the filler to stop the draft from coming in.
I see. Okay. So what about window? So that's window number 1, just so we're clear.
Yes.
I see. And so what about window number 2 that you refer to in your statement?
Window number 2, obviously there was a gap, but it was not very big. The big one was in between the number 1 going into number 2, basically. Yeah. The windows were made in a way that there would be a frame going all along from number 1 to number 3, let's say, and amongst along that side there would be this draft coming in, and the strongest part of the draft would be between number 1 and 2, basically, let's say where the number 4 is. And I remember there putting, fixing it myself with some filler in order not to have draft coming in.
Right. But the main part, the most draft was coming in, I think you say, from the bottom, is this right, of window number 1?
Yes. When we're talking about a draft before the fire, yes, before the fire, yes. It was number 1, yes, number 1, and going into number 2.
Yes.
But obviously then I didn't do anything further because there was no need, because, I didn't feel so much draft anymore. So the biggest gap was closed. I closed it.
I see. Okay. Let's just take a step back and get some more detail about this draft. First of all, when were these new windows fitted?
Pardon me?
When were these new windows fitted?
The windows were fitted during the refurbishment, perhaps during the latter stage of the refurbishment, 2015, 16, I think. I don't remember exactly now the year, but during the refurbishment of the tower itself.
And did you have an issue with drafts through one or more windows immediately after they were fitted? Do you remember? Yes,
and that's why I decided to I called them. I called the Rydon, I remember, and then but I fixed it myself basically because I couldn't wait.
Right. Do you remember who you spoke to at Rydon?
Oh yes, I spoke to Rydon in many occasions.
Do you remember who you spoke to at Rydon about this draft coming through the windows?
Yes, I spoke about the draft, and also I spoke about the draft coming in from the little vent on top of the windows,
right,
that some windows were fitted with.
Yes. Do you remember who you spoke to, which individual at Rydon?
I don't. I guess I would speak over the phone, and I would, and then in many occasions we had 2 ladies that would come and check and liaise with us, residents, between us and the workers, basically.
I see. 2 ladies from Rydon?
From Rydon, yes.
Okay. Do you remember their names?
No.
Okay. How intense or strong was the draft that you felt coming through the kitchen window?
Well, in one occasion, I mean, and one of the gap was quite big, so and there was like you could right next between 1 and 2, where number 4 is, there I would have my breakfast table. Okay, there would be a table, and sitting, sitting with obviously with your leg under the table, you would feel the draft coming from the window. That's why I decided I'm going to do the job myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Could you see the gap with the naked eye?
No, because it was quite low, so you would have to go, but you could feel it. You put your hands in there, and you feel the air, the cold air coming through.
Really? Okay.
And it was coming underneath the windowsill.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. At the ledges at that height.
But below the ledge.
Yes.
Yeah.
So where the ledge meets the wall, or?
Yes.
So I don't want to suggest things to you, but I'm just.
No. That's exactly where. Yeah, that's where it would come from.
Did you fit the plastic filler yourself?
Yes.
Did you get any advice as to what filler to put in?
No.
Did you tell Ryden or the TMO that you'd done it?
No.
Did it solve the problem?
Yes, but my intention was to go on and fill also the remaining parts of it, because it wasn't, at the end of the day, not a difficult job. But then, I never did it. So.
Do you know or have any recollection as to whether other residents in the tower had similar draft problems coming through their windows after the refurbishment?
No, but I remember someone saying that, there would be some draft coming from the top of the window where the little vents are, and then it was explained to us that was for the condensation, for, you have to have a little gap in there, which you can close or you can open, depending on but it is part of the window being fitted that way, so.
Mm-hmm. Now, thank you. Now, can I turn on in your statement to paragraph 48 and 49? If you just look ahead in it. It's page 8 of your statement. And I just want to ask you some questions about fire safety. You say that you were never given any, or not given any information regarding fire safety when I first moved into Grenfell Tower. When the TMO took over management of the tower, I believe they may have given me a blue booklet with generic information inside, but I do not remember there being any fire safety information. And then in 49 you say, I do remember there was a sign by the lifts on the ground floor stating not to use them in the event of a fire. I do not recall any further fire safety information on this sign. I was not aware of the stay put advice at Grenfell Tower. In fact, I would have left my flat on the 14th of June 2017 if the smoke had not been so bad. I've read that all to you because I have a number of questions about that. First of all, can we please have up a photograph, which is not a photograph of the building on fire, Mr. Chairman, so it's a photograph of the interior. This is BLA 0002416. And if we can just have that the right way up, that would be, if it's possible. And I wonder whether we can just enlarge that. Yes, thank you very much. This is a fire safety notice, which it was cited at the lifts, and this one is on floor 3. My question is, do you remember seeing a notice like this between the lifts on floor 10, where you lived?
To be honest with you, I don't remember.
Okay. Now, it's not that easy to read, but if you look at the second green block on the notice, it says you should initially be safe to stay in your flat, keeping the doors and windows closed. On arrival, the fire brigade will make an assessment and will assist with evacuation if required. Do you remember knowing about that advice or having that advice in your head as at the night of the fire?
Not really.
Did you ever get any advice either from the TMO or from the London Fire Brigade beyond what's on this notice?
No.
Leaving this notice on one side, Mr. Roncolato, as at June 2017, do you remember what your understanding was of what you as a resident of Grenfell Tower should do if there was a fire in the building?
To get out of there as quickly as possible.
Right, that was your understanding, was it?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to show the witness, Mr. Chairman, some photographs.
Right.
Of first of all, of the interior of the tower after the fire. And again, I have to give this warning so that people, if they feel uncomfortable about looking at these, can either leave the room or go away from the screen if they're watching remotely. Can we please start with BLA quadruple 02513? This is actually upside down. There. Now, we can see in that photograph a white object which looks like a detector on the ceiling. Do you know what that is?
Smoke detector.
Smoke detector, you think. And do you know whether one of those was installed in the lobby outside your flat on floor 10?
No, there wasn't.
There wasn't? Okay.
If there was, it wasn't functioning that night.
Right. This one is taken from floor 6, to be clear, but you think there wasn't one outside your flat?
I don't recall, but if there was, it would have gone off that night because the smoke was quite intense. Mm. But the only smoke detector that went off were in my flat.
Right. Now, can I go back in your statement to paragraph 25? You say there, for many years, there was a very nice man with a Cockney accent who used to wear a black tie with a white shirt, who I believe may have been the caretaker or the concierge for the tower. I did not see him after the recent refurbishment. Residents wanted concierge to be reinstated. First, Mr. Roncolato, do you remember whether the concierge sat physically inside the tower?
Yes.
Where exactly? Do you remember?
At the entrance, as you would enter the tower, there is, before you enter the second door on the left-hand side, there would be a small office-like, and you would see all the screens behind, with the CCTV cameras, being projected in there, and the concierge sitting in there all the time, most of the times, yeah.
You say all the time. Can we just get some more detail about that? What were their hours of duty? Do you remember? Do you know, or do you remember?
I would see them continuously. Also in late evenings. I don't recall very often, but during the day and during weekends they would be there. Yes.
Right. Was it, so far as you remember, a 24-hour concierge desk?
Yeah. Perhaps they were not there 24 hours. Perhaps at night. Maybe they were at the office behind it, but there was a presence there most of the times.
Yeah. And specifically, do you remember whether somebody was on duty within the building at night or through the night?
Don't remember.
Okay. If they weren't at the desk in the night or the middle of the night, was there a number or a button you could press to get hold of the concierge?
I think that, at the desk, it was all behind glass, so there was a little window, and maybe if you knock, they would come out. So.
Okay. Now, you say you didn't see the concierge after the recent refurbishment. What happened to the place where the concierge would sit?
The base of the tower, the ground floor, was completely redesigned. Therefore, that place had gone. So it was a totally different layout, basically, and the concierge has gone.
Do you know where the concierge went?
Well, the lady that used to be there on duty, she moved to another office close to the tower, on the way to the underground, basically. But there was not such an office for the concierge at Grenfell Tower after the refurbishment.
After the refurbishment, did you ever have cause yourself to try to get hold of the concierge for some reason?
Yes, I did in a few occasions, and the same lady would answer, and if you need to have, let's say, to discuss something, you would have to go there and walk maybe 200 meters to go to her office.
I see. Was there a way of calling the concierge remotely, or did you have to go physically to the office?
No, you have to go there physically to the office.
Okay.
You would have to.
And you did that, did you?
In a couple of occasions, yes, to report some issues or some little problems, or something that you want to discuss personally rather than on the phone. Then I went, yeah.
Right. Okay. Was there a phone number that you could ring them up on?
Yes.
If you wanted to?
Yes,
Okay.
there was.
Now, if you wanted to get hold of the concierge in the middle of the night after the refurb, how would you go about doing that? Do you know?
There was actually, it never happened to me to call the concierge or to have to call the concierge in the middle of the night. However, during weekends it has happened that I've had a problem that I had to report, and we had a number which I did call in a few occasions over the years, and then somebody would come after perhaps hours, but somebody would come to have a look at the problem if it was an urgent one.
Do you remember whether there used to be, before the refurbishment, a communal alarm system?
Perhaps there was, but I'm not aware, or it never sounded like for a big emergency. So,
right. After the refurbishment, who would monitor the CCTV cameras at Grenfell Tower?
I don't know.
Okay. And you say in the same paragraph, going back to paragraph 25, residents wanted concierge to be reinstated. Do you know whether the residents asked for the concierge to be reinstated?
Yes, well, this was also the question at the beginning of the refurbishment. Why, would the concierge have to go? And after they went on with the refurbishment, and I know that some residents took initiative and started a petition to get the concierge reinstated at the tower.
And how many residents got behind that petition?
I believe quite a lot. I don't know exactly the number, because then, we'll know what happened. But yes, we were in the process of, fighting for this again.
Right. And what happened? What was the result?
I think it came to nothing because the fire came.
Right. So the petition was still ongoing, was it, at the date
I believe
of the fire?
so, yes.
Right. And prior to the fire, do you know from your own knowledge what the response to the petition was?
Well, we would have liked to have it, but that would have implemented more costs. That's what the TMO would say to us, and but we were still trying to find a way to to persuade them to have this service that we had, and it was taken away.
Right. Now, you say in paragraph 46, if I can just take you back to that, you identify two women from Ryden who would liaise with somebody, you don't say, regarding the work being carried out and to keep us updated. There were also regular newsletters. My question is, looking at that paragraph, who would the we be, if I can put it that way? You say who we would liaise with regarding the work. Would it be all residents or just some residents?
Well, residents, yes. We residents, yes.
So it was a general channel of communication.
Yes.
Was it? I follow. And in the last sentence there, or last two sentences, you say that they would keep you updated. Apart from the newsletters that you refer to in the last sentence, how did Ryden keep residents updated?
Not much differently than the newsletter.
But how? I mean, what was the method of communication?
The letter, information leaflet, big leaflet, A4 size.
No. You see, the reason I ask is that you say there were also regular newsletters, and I was just wondering whether, in addition to the newsletters, there was any other method of communication that Ryden
No, as far as I know, only the newsletters.
Okay. Can we now then turn to the events of the night? Are you okay to carry on?
Yes.
Okay. And you deal with that at paragraph 51 and following of your statement. You tell us that you returned home on the evening of Tuesday, the 13th of June, at about 8 p.m. and went to bed about 9:30 to 10 o'clock. And you then say in paragraph 54 that your bedroom window was closed. Can you remember if you left any other windows open before going to bed that night?
No, all were closed.
Now, looking at paragraph 55, you say, the next thing I remember is waking up to a call from my son around 1:40 a.m. Christopher was crying and said, "Get out of the house, the tower's burning. I love you, Pappy, get out." How did you know what the time was? Do you remember where you got that 1:40 from?
Well, I must have looked at the phone afterwards, perhaps, Okay. But then, obviously, the moment I got up, then I went, checked around in my bedroom, looking outside the window. Then I went to the kitchen, and I got the, clock in the kitchen as well, so I saw the time.
Yes. Now, we have a statement from your son, Christopher, who says the call was made at 1:42:34, according to his phone records, and it lasted about 4 minutes. Does that accord with your recollection?
Yes.
Okay. Now, at paragraphs 57 onwards to 63 of your statement, you describe your movements, looking out of your bedroom window and then moving to the kitchen and opening the kitchen window. And at paragraph 60, you say, "I was shocked at what was happening, but at this stage I did not feel in too much danger. There did not seem to be much smoke, and I couldn't see the full magnitude of the fire." When you say, there didn't seem to be too much smoke, were you aware of any smoke inside your flat at that time?
No, at that time there was no smoke inside my flat. Only a little bit of, let's say, like dark, thick dust. If you look against the light, and you would see, rather more dust than you normally would see on a clear day. So there was, something coming through from somewhere, but no specific place from where the smoke would come through.
Right. And could you tell where the very light smoke was coming from?
No. It was just like, dust, very thick dust.
Right. And you say in 62, if you go on to that paragraph, "I initially left the kitchen window open." Why did you do that?
Well, because I opened the window in order to look downstairs, and obviously I could see that a lot of people were standing and shouting.
Right.
And I realized that there was something unusual going on, and also to make myself seen and known by police or firefighters that I'm there. So basically. Yeah,
I understand. And then in the next sentence you say, "However, a small piece of smoking debris entered my flat through the window, so I closed it again." Do you remember where that piece of debris came from?
From above. They must have been somehow sucked in, from the draft.
Right. Okay.
Into my flat.
And this is your kitchen window, to remind us this is on the east side.
Yes.
And we've got a photograph of that. If we can just look at that, that's AR6. Which we have at IWS 892, page 13. just to be clear, I think you've corrected the timing of this photograph because we can see it's light outside. And I think you corrected this in your third statement to around 5 a.m.
Yeah. The fact is that the debris came in much earlier than that.
Yes.
And then I tried to, clean up a little bit. But then the window I closed the window, obviously. And then I took that picture, a little bit later when I managed to clear up somehow the smoke that came in,
Yes.
during the night.
And when we look at the windowsill on this photograph, is that the burn mark from the debris that came in?
Yes, it is, yes.
And the clearing up marks?
Yes.
Yes, I see.
And
And you then say, going back to paragraph 62, we can take that photograph off. You then say in paragraph 62, I also noticed, this is the last sentence, I also noticed that there was a thin layer of grey smoke up at the ceiling in both the hallway and the kitchen. When you're referring there to a thin layer of smoke, did you notice that at that time?
This thin layer of grey smoke was basically the dust I was talking earlier about. So this is, another way of describing it.
Yes, I see. And did that smoke have any physical effect on you at the time?
Not at the time. It was very light. It was like, not so bad.
No. Were you aware of any smoke outside any other window in the flat? Because we're talking about the kitchen window here, but...
No, not at that stage. We're talking here about, the timing here is about, 2 o'clock, 2:30.
Right.
Yeah, so at that time was okay-ish until then the dark grey smoke started to come in from the window ledges.
Right. We'll come to that in a moment. Just at this point, were the smoke alarms operating in your flat? Did they go off at this time?
No, not at this stage.
No. And when you looked out of your bedroom window or kitchen window, could you see flames?
No.
Just same page of your statement, but can we just go back a paragraph to the very end of paragraph 59? You say, I could hear a crackling sound from outside. I also saw sparks, which reminded me of fireworks. You described a crackling sound. Could you just tell us a bit about that? Can you tell us more about that sound?
It was like when you hear or see a piece of dry wood burning. And it's like a clean, crispy noise. That's what I could hear.
And do you remember which direction it was coming from when you heard it?
It was east. It was from the kitchen window. So basically, I believe that the fire was right on my left, on that side,
Yes.
on the east side.
Now, I'm going to show you 2 more photographs, and I again should give a warning at this point about these. They are photographs which may be distressing. So I'll just wait 10 seconds or so that people can leave if they wish to. I'll just give the reference to the documents director. It's AR3 at IWS 892, page 11. Just pause a second before we put it on the screen.
I don't think anyone appears to be moving.
Now, 892, page 11. It's actually AR5. It's AR5, 892, page 11. Now, this is a photograph. We just need to, I think, rotate it a quarter turn to the right. That's the right way around. Well, first of all, if you can tell me, is that the right way round, Mr. Roncolato?
This is wrong. It has to be like it was before.
Oh, was it? Right, okay.
Yes.
And just assist us, will you, on what we see in this photograph. The orange colouring at the bottom, what is that?
Well, that would be at the bottom. Well, you see, normally outside it would be darker this time of the night. And I believe it is orangey because of the fire reflection, the flames reflecting from above the tower, basically. and this is the academy.
I see. And if we look at the photograph in its normal state, can we see, what else can we see in that photograph?
Well, all these white bits and pieces that you see
Yes.
are all debris falling down from above.
Yes, I see.
Obviously, the camera, a mobile phone camera, is not as accurate as a camera, proper camera, but these are all bits and pieces falling down from above.
And which window is this taken from?
This the kitchen,
Kitchen.
pretty much sure is the kitchen.
And you say that's the academy we
The
see
academy, yes.
and the light reflected off it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Outside was brighter than usual, basically, because of the fire.
Could you see debris falling from any other window?
Perhaps the window number 2 in the living room, I don't remember now, but if we go on, then we have a big chunk of cladding falling down that I managed to capture. And it was from the east side, basically. The debris falling down were from the east side, either the window, kitchen, or the one next to it in the living room.
Now, the second picture I want to show you, I think, is one that your son Christopher sent you by text, and that's AR7, which we have at reference 892, page 15. Is that correct?
Yes.
This is the photograph sent to you by your son.
But the other way around.
And you believe that you would have received this no later than 2 a.m., I think.
Yes. Yes, I think it was the second phone call that I had with Christopher, and he told me, you see, believe me, it is really big, so it's really dangerous.
Now, we know you made a first attempt to leave your flat. Do you think you received this picture before or after that first attempt?
I think I received the photo, I think after. I think I made the attempt to leave the flat as soon as, Christopher told me, that there is a big fire. So I got ready, and then I remember receiving this photo and realizing, the gravity of it. So
Yes.
how big it was.
Yes. Just so you're clear, your son Christopher exhibits the same photograph to his witness statement, which we're going to be putting into the record later this morning. And he says he can't give a precise time for the photograph, but it was shortly after the call he made to you at about 1:42.
Yes. So basically we had the first call, and then I assessed a little bit. I got ready. Obviously I hung up. I tried to get out, and then he sent me this one. So basically, yes.
Right. Okay. Now, going back, if we can, to yes, I see. Okay, so this photograph came in. So you say after your first attempt to get out, you think?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Just so we're clear about that.
Yes.
Okay. Now, going back, if I can, to paragraph 68 of your statement. You say Christopher called after sending the photograph of the burning tower. He was with a fire marshal and handed the phone over to him. We had a short conversation where I confirmed my location. The fire marshal told me to stay put, as the fire was not near my flat and they would come and get me. I felt reassured after this call. Was this conversation before or after you had made your first attempt to leave?
It was after.
After. Did you discuss the conditions in the lobby that you'd seen on your first attempt to leave with the fire marshal?
I don't recall. Perhaps I did, but for sure he told me to stay put, that someone will come and get me.
Right. You used the word fire marshal. Did the person you spoke to identify themselves as a fire marshal?
No. I said fire marshal to say firefighters or fire, person in charge downstairs. So
An officer.
An officer, yes.
Right. Did that person identify themselves? Do you remember?
No, I don't think so. No.
Was
No,
it a
no.
man or a woman you spoke to?
It was a man.
Right. And you say they would come and get me. Can you remember more precisely what the man said to you?
Well, very much stay put, somebody is coming to get you. He was very determined in his affirmation, in his words,
Yes.
not to try anything risky, basically. That they weren't aware that I was there and they will come and get me.
Yes. Now, moving on in your statement to paragraph, well, actually it's back a little, 63. This is where you describe your effort to leave. You say you got dressed, you put your shoes on, you packed a number of essentials. So did you move around the flat when you were doing that, or were you in one place?
Well, I picked up the most important things I could think of, put it in the rucksack, and that was basically in my bedroom to pick up some stuff, and then the laptop from the living room.
Right.
And that was all that I could put in, basically. So,
Did you notice whether there had been any change in the conditions within the flat when you were moving around doing that?
no, this was still at a very early stage, because, as I said, I wanted to get out. So there was no significant changes, so light grey dust or smoke, but no significant changes.
Right. And what prompted your decision to try to leave?
Because of the photo that Christopher sent me. So, and I realized that, yes, I have to see and analyze and assess if I can get my way out. But obviously, it was extremely dangerous. Once I tried and I realized that the smoke outside was very strong, very black, very, it wouldn't be possible to breathe. It would take your breath away, basically. So it was like, I felt like the moment I opened the door, I felt like I've been hit by a gas as well as smoke. So basically, it would stop me from breathing. So I said, you cannot go out there. So that's why I closed promptly, and my eyes were, crying like, it was really horrible. So that's why I closed the door and I went to rinse my eyes in the bathroom.
Yes. Yes. You cover this in paragraph 64 of your statement. If we can just turn to that. Let's look at some of the detail. You say, I then went towards my front door. It was warm to the touch. Can we just get a feeling for how warm? First of all, which part of the door was warm to the touch? Do you remember?
Well, I touched first like this, with the back of my hand, and then the handle, but very carefully, and it was quite not hot, but it was very warm.
Right.
But still, nevertheless, I said, okay, I can handle it. So I opened a little bit, and the moment I opened, it was like I was invested with this puff of smoke, and I closed straight away. And for some reason, silly reason, I even put the chain, to close the door properly. So it was like an instinctive
Yes.
reaction. So, but it scared me. So it was really, I managed to think, okay, if you try to go out there, you cannot see, you cannot breathe, maybe you lose your bearings, you lose your senses. I don't know. It was really scary.
Yeah.
So,
What colour was the smoke?
pitch black.
Pitch black.
Black.
Did you smell it?
Of course.
What did it smell like?
Horrible. Something like never before.
Really?
I mean, you smell, occasionally some smoke from something, but this was really intense and, a killer. To me, that was a killer.
Yeah. You say my eyes were stinging, I was almost crying. Was there any other part of your body that was affected?
No, just because obviously I was properly dressed and, my face was the only part exposed, and
Right.
that's where the biggest impact came.
Yes. And you say it was impossible to breathe. I mean, this is maybe a difficult question, but do you remember how many breaths of the smoke you took?
One, perhaps, or two, but it was enough for me to shut the door.
No, I understand. And you say the smoke was very smelly and hot.
Yes.
Did you actually?
Yes. Very, very warm, yes. Very, very warm.
Where did you feel the warmth?
In my face, right in my face.
Right. Could you see any fire?
No.
Could you see anything out into the lobby?
Zero visibility.
As you approached your closed front door to open it to try to get out, did you notice whether there was smoke coming through any of the gaps around it, or any gaps around it?
The door?
Yes.
No. The door was properly sealed and closed, and there was no smoke coming in.
And when you opened the door, did much smoke come into your flat?
No, not too much, because it was a instant reaction to close it straight away because of the intensity, because of the heat, because of the it was like horrible. So I closed straight away.
Okay. And you say that well, let me ask it this way: Did you see any lights on in the lobby at all?
No, zero.
Zero. After you had washed your face, as you say you did you have any lasting effects of the smoke?
No.
And after you shut the front door, and I think you went to the bathroom and washed your face, did you then move around your flat after that?
Yes, I was continuously moving around to assess, to check, to see what is going on, if I could see any fire, if I could see any potential danger. During this time, I had various conversations with Christopher and then with people that started calling me. And one of the conversations was the photo that Christopher sent me, and also the fire official that told me to stay put. And when he told me stay put, somebody's coming to get you, I kept my jacket on, even my rucksack on my shoulder, because I thought it would be happening soon. And then after a while I realized, it's going to take some time here, so I took my jacket off because it was quite warm. And then that's when I started around 2:30 to see the smoke coming in from the windows.
Right. Well, we're going to turn to that in a moment. Mr. Chairman, I noticed we've been going just under an hour.
Yes.
And I know that an hour's evidence is quite a lot.
Yes.
For
well,
witnesses.
Mr. Roncolato, most people giving evidence find that an hour at a time is enough, and I'd quite like to have a break. So shall we have a short break now?
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll stop now then for 10 minutes. I have to ask you, please, not to talk to anyone about your evidence during the break.
Yeah.
And then if you go with the usher, we'll start again at 11:10.
Yeah, good.
All right?
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I should just say, by way of further trigger warning, that after the break, and I'll repeat it after the break, that we will be coming back to look at some further photographs that were taken on the night.
Of course. All right, thank you. Well, 11:10 then, please. All right, Mr. Roncolato.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable? Have you got a draft?
Yes, yes. I don't know where it's coming from.
Would you rather have
Window.
that fan turned off?
I think so.
Yes.
If possible, yeah.
I thought you might. Ken, where's the usher? Usher, would you mind seeing if you can sort out the fan? It's a bit too obtrusive. Should we just turn it off and see? Well done. That's fine. Thank you. If you now get too hot,
No, I was perfectly comfortable before. I'm comfortable now as well, but I mean,
All right.
I have to consider others as well. So.
yeah. All right. Well, you just shout if you want something changed. All right. Yes,
Thanks.
Mr. Miller.
Mr. Roncolato, thank you very much for coming back to us. I want now to look at 3 more photographs with you, if I can. The first is your exhibit AR8, which is IWS 892 at page 17. Now, according to your latest statement, your third statement, I think you took this at 2:30 or around about 2:30. Is that right?
Correct.
And could you just tell us what we can see in this picture?
Right. These are brand new windows installed only a few months before, and you can see from the bottom part of it there is smoke coming in through these tiny little gaps that were still there, basically.
And could you just show us where on the picture we can see the smoke coming in detail?
Well, it is there.
It's at the bottom of the picture, is
At
it?
the bottom, yeah, the
I
very
see.
bottom, a bit
Right.
further down.
And is it...
There, yes.
I see. There.
Yes.
So it was... I'm sorry to keep asking detailed questions, but was it bubbling up through a gap, or was it coming in at a joint between the glass and the PVC?
No, it came through the frame.
Through the frame?
Yeah, which was not airtight.
I see. And this window is, I think you say, the window on the east side of the building?
Number 2, I think it is.
Number 2. Right, so that's your living room?
Yes.
Right. And in your statement, you say that at paragraph 69 and indeed at 70, how soon after your first attempt to leave did you notice this smoke coming in through the living room window here?
Yeah, about 40, 50 minutes afterwards. 40 minutes.
Okay. Can I then look, please, at AR9, which is IWS 892, page 19. And again, I think you say now that you took this around about 2:30 in your third statement.
Yes, slightly after the previous picture.
Right, I see. And is it also of your living room?
It is indeed, yes.
From which angle or direction is it taken? Do you know?
It is from the kitchen behind the breakfast table, which I was talking earlier on about.
And can we see the breakfast table in this picture?
Yes, it is, yeah. You can see also there is a spoon
Yes.
in there, so that is the breakfast table.
Right. And you describe the smoke in paragraph 70 of your statement, if we just go to that. You describe the smoke there as thick grey smoke. Besides the colour and the density, was it different in any other way from the smoke that you'd seen in the lobby when you opened the door?
Yes, definitely different, much lighter, and you could somehow, if I may, so you can still breathe.
Yes.
Even though I used to put a towel or wet napkin on my face, but it was totally different than the smoke in the hallway.
Did it have a smell or a taste, this grey smoke?
Yes, very, how can I put it, very smoky, very horrible as well.
Did it taste or smell different from the smoke that you'd encountered in the lobby?
Yes, the one in the lobby was like a gas, something that would, you go into a gas chamber and that would kill you shortly after.
Right.
This one was somehow, again, breathable, but still horrible.
Yeah. Could you describe the smell or the taste of this smoke?
When
What
you
was it like?
burn a lot of, let's say, a lot of rubbish,
Right.
and the smell is awful, but the one in the hallway would be like in the landings would be like if you burn something chemicals, like some, I don't know, like sponges or something that is like a rubber or like a tire, if you strong smell and black, whilst the one in the living room was more like rubbish-like.
Right. Now, on page 12 of your statement, if we just go back to your first statement, you say in paragraph 72, "My eyes were burning from the smoke. I wet a fabric napkin and put it over my nose and mouth and went into my bedroom to breathe in some fresh air from the window." Is that smoke that you're referring to there the same smoke as we've seen coming through the window in the
Yes,
photographs?
that's the
we've just
one,
been
yes.
looking at? Okay. Apart from burning your eyes, did it have any other physical effect on you?
No, it was totally uncomfortable or unpleasant to breathe. That's why I would have this wet towel on my mouth, and that's why I would go to my living room and get some fresh air from the window. And also I knew that, breathing that stuff would not be good for you, so I tried to protect myself as much as I could.
Was the effect of the thick grey smoke that we've just been looking at coming through your window, was the effect on you different from the effect of the black smoke that you'd encountered when you opened your door to the lobby?
Yes, as I said, the black smoke was like very hot, very, very hot and very powerful. This one was, still very bad, but not as bad.
Right.
It was totally different.
Yeah. What I was really asking was the effect on you physically. Did it have a different effect physically on
Well,
you?
you see, the one at the door, when I first breathed in the first time, it was for a very, very short time, a few seconds, basically. If I had had that black smoke in my living room, perhaps I would have run for my life.
Yes. Now, in paragraph 74, you say, "After this, both smoke detectors in my flat started beeping loudly. I tried to cool them down with fanning them with a dry cloth, but they soon went off again." I just want to try and get the timing. You say "after this," and in the previous paragraph, paragraph 73, you see that you say that I took two photographs, and those are AR9 and AR10. We've looked at AR9. Can we just look at AR10? It's just a timing point. This is 892, page 21. And this is the photograph, I think, of your hallway. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, I think in your first statement you said that this was taken around about 2:40, but now I think you say it was around 4:30.
Yes.
So, just in terms of the smoke conditions in your flat, when do you think the smoke detectors went off? What sort of time?
They went off shortly after. They went off in a few occasions. They went on shortly after the smoke was pouring in from the windows.
So about 2:30?
Yes,
Right.
a few times. And I managed to somehow cool it down, so to stop from making the noise. And then they went off again later on in the night when Christopher's room, which is that one, got filled up with smoke because of the fire that was crawling down on the outside of his window.
Right. I see. I'm going to
Yeah.
come back to that shortly. Just on this, at this point in the night, you go on, I think, at paragraph 75, on page 12 of your first statement. We can just go back to that, to say, "I then went into my bedroom to devise a plan to try and get rid of the smoke from my flat. I opened my bedroom window on the south side and the kitchen window on the east side of the tower whilst shutting Christopher's bedroom, the bathroom and toilet doors to create a draft. Thankfully, this gradually cleared the smoke. Can I please look at the third photograph with you that I wanted to show you, which is AR13. That's IWS 924. Now, I think your third statement explains that this photograph was taken between 2:30 and 3 a.m. And I just wanted to see if that was really right.
Perhaps slightly later than that, perhaps. Looking at it now, because it is, dawn is breaking outside, basically. But yeah, I don't recall exactly the time. I mean,
No. And can we see any smoke in that picture?
No.
No. And
No.
do you know why we can't?
Because at that stage in there was only a light. You see, this is the south side, so the fire had not come to that side yet, and it was quite early in the night.
Yes. Now, going back to your statement at paragraph 76, you say, according to my phone records, at around 2:40 a.m., I called the night manager at the hotel where I work. I told him that I was not able to come to work as there was a fire and I was trapped in my flat. He told me not to worry about work and to get the hell out of there, quotes unquotes. You give a time for that call at 2:40. That means that about an hour had passed between Christopher's call to you, which woke you up, and this call. That's right, is it?
Yes.
To the best of your recollection?
Yes, I did this because I realized that it was very serious, and obviously I could not go to work the day after. So that's why I...
Yes. And before you made that call, had you made any other attempt to leave the flat?
No,
than the one
up
we
to that
discussed
stage,
earlier?
only one attempt.
Right. Now, moving ahead, the next time marker we have, aside from your timing of photographs, is a call with the LFB, and it's specifically Control Room Officer Pam Jones. And we have that at 4:49 a.m. And we'll look at that in a little bit of detail in a moment. But before we do that, 4:49, in the time that passed between the call to your night manager, 2:40, and your contact with the LFB at 4:49, what were the I mean, it's a 2-hour spread. What were the conditions like in general terms in your flat?
It was very smoky at around 2:30. The time I took the picture, and the time I took the photo also from the kitchen, showing the living room full of smoke. So, sorry, repeat the question.
As a general question, what were the conditions like during that 2-hour period?
Yeah. So basically, it was smoky, but I managed somehow to get rid of the smoke by putting all wet towels and bed sheets and stuff that I had around all the window wedges, independently if there was smoke or not coming in from the window. So basically, I put towels everywhere, wet, and then by opening the window in the kitchen and in the bedroom, I was busy getting rid of the smoke.
Right, and did that work?
And that, basically that kept me busy for a while.
Did the amount of smoke coming through the window, with the window frame as you referred to it earlier, did the amount increase during the night?
No, because I put the towels. I put towels all over it. So,
and that worked?
It worked, yeah. Thank God it worked.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the next photograph I think that you're able to time in your third statement, your most recent, is one that I think you believe was taken from your bedroom window at about 4:30 a.m. And we can look at that. That's AR11. And you corrected the time for this to about 4:30. At this time, let's just wait till it comes up on the screen. This is 892, page 23. At about this time, and we can see it's beginning to get light, was there any smoke still coming into your bedroom?
No, not my bedroom.
Not your bedroom. Did any smoke ever come into your bedroom?
Not really. My bedroom, no. Christopher's bedroom, yes, but not mine.
I see.
Perhaps very, very, very light.
Right. Now, we know you made a second attempt to leave the flat. Do you think you took this photograph before that or after that?
I made the second attempt to leave the flat at around 4:30, 4 something. So it was about more or less the same time. Perhaps before.
And what is this a photograph of?
Pardon?
What is this a photograph of?
This photo is from the window, from my bedroom. The tower above me is burning. So basically, the fire started on the east-west side, correct? So it went all the way to the south side as well, on the top levels. And then the fire started to come down as well. So basically, this is the reflection of the fire, the tower burning, the flats above me, well above me maybe.
Yes.
But the fire was coming down, obviously, and this is the reflection on to that building, which is part of the estate. They call it the fingers.
Yes.
And you see those windows at the top are open at an angle, and that's where the reflection is coming from.
So we can see the yellow flames reflected.
Yes, from above the tower.
In the vents at the top of these
Yes.
glass dormer windows.
Yes, yes.
I see.
So, and that was, to me, a pretty signal that, yes, fire is coming this way as well.
Yes, thank you. Now we're going to see another photograph in a moment, which we looked at, I think, a moment ago, which is AR10, page 89, it's IWS 892, page 21. And that you said earlier, and you say in your statement, that this was taken in the hallway into Christopher's bedroom. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, you now, I think, say that this was taken at about 4:30 or 4:40, before the call with Control Room Officer Jones at 4:49.
Yes.
And you say in your first statement, and it's paragraph 84, that, let's just go back to that. When I next checked Christopher's room, I saw the entire room was full of white, thick smoke. His window was closed, but smoke was pouring in. This all happened very quickly. I also saw flames crawling down the left side of Christopher's bedroom window. This was very scary. Now, I just want to try to get a time on that. When you checked Christopher's room and saw what you've described there, was that at the same time as, or before or after, you took the photograph that we've just looked at 892, page 21?
I think I've taken the photograph, the one with the reflection on the...
No, no, page 21, the hallway photograph. That photograph there. So let me put the question again. When you checked Christopher's room and saw the whole room full of white thick smoke and flames coming down the outside,
yes.
Was that before or after or at the same time as you took this photograph?
I've seen the fire crawling down, and the room quickly filled up with smoke, and then I took the picture.
Thank you. That's very clear. Now, going back to your statement, you say, when I next checked Christopher's room, had you checked Christopher's room before that?
Only occasionally.
Okay. Now, you describe white, thick smoke. Do you know where, or could you see where the smoke was coming in from?
From the window.
Right.
From the window.
You say
but it all happened so quickly that I could not figure out, is it from that point that, it went so quickly.
Right.
It came in so quickly.
Was there a lot of smoke coming in?
Yes.
You can't say, was it at the bottom of the window or the top of the window or the sides?
I think...
You able to tell us?
I can't tell, but it just came in.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, you say in your statement, I also saw flames crawling down the left side of Christopher's bedroom window. This was very scary. Do you remember whether the flames that you saw crawling down were inside the flat or still outside?
Outside.
Outside.
Clearly burning the cladding outside.
How close to the left side of the window frame were the flames you saw?
Well, basically you have the window, and right after you have basically the column or the pillar, how you call them, and that part of the cladding, it was like burning, and I could see the flames, like coming down.
Yes. That
So,
must have been scary.
yes.
And you then, I think, go on to say that you, in the next paragraph, you say, suddenly water from outside started pouring into mine and Christopher's bedroom, putting out the fire. Do you know how the water got into Christopher's bedroom?
How what?
How the water got into Christopher's bedroom?
Yes, the water came through the little vent at the top of the window, and from in his bedroom and my bedroom. Only because the pressure of the water was quite strong,
Yes.
and obviously they were aiming at the fire.
Yes, I see.
But a lot of water came through that little, which is a tiny gap like this. A lot of water came through, a lot.
Did it have any effect on the fire that you'd seen crawling down on the left side of the
Well,
window?
I could see that the fire went off immediately. So, and then slowly the smoke disappeared as well.
Right. Just so we're absolutely clear, can I ask you to look at your plan of your flat again? Your plan of your flat,
Yes.
which is AR1, 892 page 2. Just so we've got the windows completely clear, where you say that the water came in. We can see, and I'm going to try to guess, but are the windows marked 6 and 7?
Yes,
That's where the water came in.
yes,
And Christopher's window is 6.
yes. If you see Christopher's window, 6 on, looking at it now on the right-hand side, this little dark
Yes.
spot, that's where the
Right.
fire was crawling.
That's very interesting. Could you just explain? So when you saw the fire crawling down, could you just describe where on the diagram you saw it
Can I
going
stand
down?
up and show you?
Please do.
Please
Yes.
do, yeah.
You see, from this door, I could see. You see, because here it is not flat. This is the column, the pillar that holds the tower. So basically, the flames were there. So basically, I could see. Going inside, you could see that. The flames were there.
Right.
Burning this part of the cladding.
Okay. Could you see whether the joints were burning, or was it the face of the cladding?
This one,
Yes.
yes. So the fire was, this one obviously goes high, and the fire was crawling down there.
Right. In the channel, or on the face?
On the outside.
On the outside.
Burning the cladding, basically burning
Right.
the aluminium, whatever material it was, the cladding.
And you got a good look at it, did you?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Okay. And do you think this incident you're describing, the flames coming down, that happened before you tried to leave the flat for the second time?
I tried to leave the flat before, yes.
Before
For the
that?
second time, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's before you saw the flames crawling down the window?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did, yeah. Because when I saw the flames, that was the warning that, okay, I have to, in a way, step up a gear. So I want to make more awareness towards 999 or towards the fire officer that the fire is coming at me. So where am I standing now?
I follow. So just so we're clear, so is this right? Correct me if this isn't right, but the order was you tried to leave second time, couldn't, then you saw the flames on the outside, and then you rang 999.
Yes, and then I don't know if I rang, I rang on a couple of occasions, but yes, that was the time when, I realized, okay, something more has to be done now, because the fire is coming.
Yeah.
Even though the fire brigade, firefighters, they put off the fire, and they put a lot of water, but
Yes.
I was,
Sure. Okay, let's just go and have a look in detail about what you say about your second attempt to leave your flat. This you cover at paragraph 78 of your first statement. And you say, around 4 a.m., this is 78, around 4 a.m. I tried to leave the flat again. I put on my rucksack and had a wet towel to cover my nose and mouth. I opened the front door and the very same black, thick, hot smoke engulfed me. I immediately shut the door again. This time I could also hear screaming and banging from the stairwell. Now, you say there it was around 4 a.m. I think in your third statement you say that you made that attempt just before the call with CRO Jones at 4:40 or 4:50. Is that right?
I don't remember. I mean,
okay.
Everything was happening so quickly.
Okay. And when you made that second attempt, you say, I immediately shut the door again. Were the conditions in the lobby that you could see when you opened the door different from the first time or the same?
Exactly the same.
Right. What prompted you to make that attempt?
To see if I, could help myself, to see if I could get out of there, to see if I can, yes, basically, maybe now it is a bit better. Maybe somehow the fire has been, I don't know, it's less or...
Yeah.
I tried.
No, sure. Did the flat front door still continue to protect and keep the smoke out?
Yes.
When you did open the front door, I know it was very brief, did you get any sense of the temperature in the lobby?
Again, very hot, just like the first one. The only difference were the noises that I heard coming from outside, from the landings, and some screaming as well. So that's why I got more.
Did you? What did you think when you heard the screaming and the banging in the stairwell?
I was thinking that someone is not well at all in there, so something is going on, and I was thinking, even if you want to try, and you don't see, you not be able to breathe again. So you might find someone, or you might find some obstruction on the way down. Maybe you trip over, and maybe you can fall down. So, and then I was thinking, I'm sure that firefighters are trying to fight the fires and rescue people. And the stairs are very narrow as well. So, and again, I was continuously thinking that I will not be able to breathe properly. And therefore it's very risky.
Yeah.
And that's why, stay put.
Yeah. Right. Now, we know from your statement that you spoke to Christopher, your son, a number of times during the course of that night. At any stage, did he pass on, do you remember whether he passed on to you any information about what you were supposed to do in response to the fire and smoke?
No, he was just trying to find out how I was coping, if there was smoke, if there was fire, if, the state of my being there. And obviously I could feel that he was very worried, he was very stressed, he was extremely worried, yes, I repeat again. And at one stage I remember him saying that he had to be strong and he had to be focused, because I would need him outside there to be there for me. So.
And did he tell you about the progress of the fire, or what he could see? Do you remember?
Possibly, but I don't remember.
Okay. Now, in your third statement, and I'll summarise it, you say that you remember speaking to your sister-in-law shortly before you had a call with the 999 control room, and then you got called up by the control room. I've summarised it, but is that right?
Yes.
Now we can look at the transcript of that call. It's INQ 372, timed at, just get it up on the screen, timed at 04:49:59, and at page 2, it starts automated speaker, and then caller, hello, and then operator, hello, it's the fire brigade control room here. I just spoke to your sister-in-law. So is it right? She rang you on your mobile. Is that?
My sister-in-law.
No, the control room operator.
Yes.
Right. And she says, you say yes, and operator, she said you're still in the flat. Question, yes, I am. Okay, I've let the firefighters know who are there. And then it continues, and you describe the conditions. And then what I wanted us to look at is page 3 of this transcript. A quarter of the way down the page, you say, the fire alarm stopped as well, so I've got a little bit of oxygen coming through a window, where it's safe. So I'm safe here, you know what I mean? I don't want to risk anything, go outside and try to do something heroic. When you refer to the fire alarm stopped, what are you referring to there?
Yes. Yes, the smoke detectors, yes.
The smoke detector, in your flat?
In my flat, yes.
I see, okay. And then a little bit lower down the page, halfway, you say she asks you the question, so there's no smoke or anything coming in where you are. And you say there is smoke, plenty of smoke, yeah, but I'm okay because the window a little bit open, I open and close the window a little bit to get some oxygen. When you refer to plenty of smoke, what smoke were you referring to?
I think I was referring to the smoke that came through. What time was this phone call made?
4:49, so just before 10 to 5
This
a.m.
was referred to the smoke that came through Christopher's room because of the fire.
Yeah. Okay.
And in this occasion also, from what I see here, the smoke detector went off.
Yes. And then you go on to say, just a little bit below that, there is no fire surrounding my floor, if you know what I mean. There was fire before, but now they put it off. What's that a reference to?
It was referring to the fire on the outside of Christopher's room.
That you described before?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. And then you go on at page 5 of this transcript. I'm so sorry, page 4 of this transcript is actually a place to pick something up with you. You say at the top, the fire, I can see now where it was. Right, okay, next to my flat. Was that a reference to the outside that you told us about this morning?
Yes, because that was the only fire I've ever seen that night. So
yes, I see. And then you say, underneath that, you say, and I just checked. I just tried to go out with a cloth in my mouth to see if I could go, but it's too dark outside and it's too dangerous. When you say, I just checked, what did you...
It was referred to the attempt I did to go out for the second time. The second and last time, basically.
Right. So looking at what you say, I just checked, does that help you remember how long before this call you made that second attempt?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't recall.
All right. Okay. And then in the... on the next page, page 5, in that page, a third of the way down, you say that you don't want to put anybody's life at risk to come to the 10th floor by, walking because the stairwell is totally pitch black and smoky. When you say the stairwell is totally pitch black and smoky. Had you actually seen the stairwell by that point?
No, I was assuming that because there was so much smoke in the landings, I was assuming that the whole of the stairwell, landings, and the surrounding areas would be smoke locked, basically. And
Now,
that's why I said that. But obviously, I did not see the smoke, or if there was any smoke in the stairs.
No. Now, lower down the page, page 5, 2/3 of the way down, you say, you know, I think if the floor, there's no fire around me, I'm going to be safe here in the flat. What made you feel safe?
The fact that important was that the door was holding the smoke out. Basically, the main door, there was no smoke coming in. That was a positive thing. That the fire on the outside of Christopher's room was put off, and by the amount of water that was sprayed into that part of the wall of the building, including my bedroom, that was no fire in there, so made me feel okay. I'm sure that, and also seeing that the firefighters outside the building, at the level of my floor, basically, was spraying water continuously. So basically, okay, these guys will stop the fire from coming down, and that's what made me say, okay, I'm safe here. Well, at least I'm okay at the moment, because at least on this side there is no fire coming down.
If the control room operator had said to you on this call, and we see she didn't, but if she had said to you on this call, you must get out of your flat, what would you have done, do you think?
I would have assessed again if I was in the condition to go out. But obviously, she would have taken a big responsibility to do so on her behalf, because she doesn't know, she wouldn't know how bad the conditions outside were. I knew, she didn't. She wouldn't know.
Now, we know that at the end of the call, if you just look at it, she says to you, and it's the same page actually, just below where we've been looking, if you don't get or hear anyone, you call back, okay? See that? It's at the foot of page 5. Do you see that? She says, okay, well, I've let them know where you are. If you don't get or hear anyone, you call back, okay? And you say, okay, all right. Okay, fine, all right. And she says goodbye. We know you did call the LFB back at 5:05:45, and we can look at that. That's INQ 430. If we can just please look at that call. And from the first page we can see when we get to it. INQ 4, sorry, I'm so sorry, LFB, my fault, LFB 430. And we can see from the top right-hand corner of that it's timed at 05:05:45. And on page 2 at the top you say, oh hi, my name is Antonio, I'm calling from Grenfell Tower, 72 Grenfell Tower. Right, you know there's a big fire going on there at the moment, right? Yes. And the conversation then starts. You say 2/3 of the way down, I'm not in any sort of danger. I'm not in any sort of danger. There's a lot of smoke around, but I'm not in danger. And then you go on to say, I've been told I should try to, from downstairs. From downstairs they told, try to come down, try to come down. It's impossible. I tried to open the door a little bit, and there is so much smoke, if I go out I die. So basically I just want to speak to your fire brigade men downstairs, somebody in charge that can advise me what to do. Now just in that, you say, I've been told I should try to, from downstairs they told, try to come down. What are you describing there? Did somebody tell you to come down?
think in a previous conversation with someone, I don't recall whom, but perhaps there was an attempt to say, you know, get what you can and try to make your way down. But I don't recall exactly.
No.
So,
Let me see if I can. Do you remember having, around this time, a conversation with a fire officer, an LFB officer, about coming out of the flat?
I don't recall. It must be all in the statement somewhere, but all the conversation that I've had. But I don't recall a clear message, oh, you have to go out now, or anything like that.
And you go on to say, I want to speak to your fire brigade men downstairs, somebody in charge that can advise me what to do. Why did you want to speak to somebody at that stage?
Because a person, an official in charge downstairs, or someone that is in the place would know and assess better than a person on the other side of the phone, maybe miles away.
Yes.
So, to me, was the time where, okay, you know, I cannot be here forever. So, you know, I've been told to stay put at the end of the day. So, meaning, you're committing someone to come and help me out. So, and that's what I was waiting for.
Now, we know that you got evacuated, and we can see from the detail in your statement from paragraph 89 onwards, you describe that in some detail. Can I just pick up one or two things about the detail you've given us there very helpfully? At paragraph 91, you say, we quickly left the flat and headed to the stairwell. As soon as we were on the landing and in the stairwell, the temperature changed and it was very hot. Just to clarify, when you say landing...
Just outside my flat, basically.
That's your lobby, okay.
Yeah, the lobby.
You said the temperature changed and it was very hot. Is that a change from the temperature in your flat?
Yes.
Right. And when you say it was very hot, was it hotter than when you'd first experienced it, when you first opened the front door?
Well, when
flat?
I first experienced it, it was only for a few seconds into my face, and obviously it's hot. But when we left, I felt, even though I was properly dressed, that I felt that, you know, there was like a heat wave coming at me right through my body, right through my clothes, basically. And that's how I felt, so that it was very, very hot.
Then you describe how you left the flat in that paragraph. Do you remember whether the stair door, the door between the lobby and the stairwell, was open or closed?
I don't remember because I was totally blind. I had a big towel over my head and I was just following the firefighter in front of me, holding on him from the back. And basically I was just guided. If he had opened the door to go out, or if the door was open, I don't know.
You don't know. You didn't hear it?
No. I was just concentrating in following what they told me to do.
When you got into the stairwell, do you recall what the temperature was like there?
Well, the moment I left the flat together with the firefighters, obviously you have this sudden impact of heat coming at you, and then somehow your body, you get used soon straight away, and then so basically to me the temperature didn't change. I didn't feel any change. Also because actually, to be honest, it cooled down a bit because the moment we went into the stairs. It was very wet, lots of rubbish on the floor, and water pouring down from above.
Right.
So basically that made, obviously, the temperature lower, and it was wet, totally pouring down, water pouring down from above.
Did you get, I know you were covered with a wet towel, but did you get any sense of how thick the smoke in the stairwell was once you got into the stairwell?
No, no. Also because I had a towel in my mouth and nose.
No. No. Mr. Roncolato, that brings me to the end of my questions for the moment, so I'm extremely grateful to you. But I'm going to ask the chairman to rise for a few minutes, just to make sure that there aren't other questions which my team want me to ask, or which I want to ask, or which others in the room might want me to ask. So if that's not inconvenient to you, Mr. Chairman, may we have, say, 10 minutes?
That sounds sensible. It does sometimes happen that further questions come to light. So we'll have, like 10 minutes?
If I could, please.
Right, well, let's say 10 past 12.
Yeah.
That's just over 10 minutes. And then we'll see whether there's some more questions for you. Again, I have to ask you not to talk about your evidence while you're out of the room. Right, if you'd like to go to the usher, that'll be fine. Right, 10 past 12, then, please. few more questions, Mr. Miller?
Just one or two, Mr. Chairman, yes.
I think there are just a few more questions,
Yeah,
Mr.
sure.
Roncolato.
Mr. Roncolato, thank you for coming back to us.
Pleasure.
There are just a few more. First, you've mentioned your beautiful view, and I just wanted to make sure we could understand what that was and from which direction you had it. Could the witness please be shown IWS 892 at page 7, which is AR3, to your first witness statement? There it is. Is that the view from your flat?
Yes.
And it looks towards the city, does it?
Yes, it does.
Just tell us, from which window in your flat is that picture taken?
This is from the kitchen window.
Right. Now, and we can see the leisure centre on the right and the academy on the left. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Can I please ask you to look at paragraph 51 of your statement, your first statement? And you say there, on Tuesday the 13th of June 2017, I arrived home after a week in Italy at around 8 p.m. And you say, it was a beautiful summer's evening. I noticed nothing unusual at Grenfell Tower. There were no issues with the lifts, lighting or electricity. Can I ask you, do you remember what the temperature was like in the lobby when you came in?
That evening,
Yes, on that evening.
maybe around 20 degrees, 22, something like that.
Was it different? Was the temperature different from the temperatures you would normally experience?
No, it would be like any other day during that summer.
Did you notice any blowing or air or ventilation in operation at that time?
No, nothing unusual than any other day.
Moving on to a different point, I just wanted to see if I can get slightly better clarity on timing of your first attempt to leave. Thinking about it again, do you think your first attempt to leave was before or after you received Christopher's photograph?
I think it was before, but I'm not 100% sure.
But yes. So what prompted you to, just asking the question I asked earlier, just again, what prompted you to make that first attempt?
Because I would see the thick smoke outside. Okay, it means there's something big going on. I didn't know the intensity and the severity of the smoke, obviously. And then also because lots of people were gathering downstairs as I opened the window in the kitchen especially. So I would see a lot of people. And I said, okay, you have to try at least. So that's why, I put my stuff together and I got ready and tried.
So just doing the best you can with what I know is difficult recollection. Does that mean, this is right, that you got the photograph from Christopher of the exterior of the tower offer after that first attempt?
Yes.
Okay.
Because the moment I saw the picture, I realized how severe the problem was.
Yes, thank you. Moving on to a separate question, a different point. Can I ask you please to go back to your second 999 call, which is LFB 430. This is the one at 05:05:45. And can I please ask you to go to page 3 in that transcript? You say 2/3 of the way down, no, I cannot go out. If I go out, believe me, I'm going to be on somebody else's conscience. It's totally, my eyes started crying, inaudible, and it's impossible to breathe. When you said it's going to be on somebody else's conscience, what did you mean?
I meant that if that person on the other side of the line would tell me, you must get out, or you have to, try it, or, I tried already, so I knew. Now let's say I would be convinced by this person to go out, and if something had happened to me, how would that person feel if I had not made it out, basically? So that's why I said, I don't want to, to think of someone, thinking, oh, because I gave him that advice, look what happened to him. How would that person then live for the rest of their life?
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Just a couple more questions. First of all, at paragraph 8 of your statement, your first statement, if I could just ask you to go back to that, please. I just want to see if this is actually correct. When you say the tenancy agreement was subsequently amended with the TMO, who ran the building at the time of the fire, do you know whether your landlord changed to become the TMO?
When?
Well, when you refer to the tenancy agreement being amended with the TMO, do you mean that, was it your understanding that the TMO became your landlord, or was it your understanding that RBKC remained your landlord?
Well, from my understanding is that the council would be, let's say, the owner, and that the TMO would run or manage it on behalf of the council. So that was my understanding.
Right.
And therefore they would have full power and responsibility to manage the estate the best way,
Right.
which to my and many other people's opinion did not.
No. No, that's
But that's a different matter altogether.
Okay. Now, can I ask you then finally to go to page 7 of your statement, paragraph 41, first statement, and you describe the boilers and the change of location there in that statement. And you say 2/3 of the way down, some residents accepted the revised plans, but there were others, including myself, who were not happy. The new boiler was not attractive and blocked the hallway. We also had health and safety concerns with it being located above the electricity meter. We formed a residents' compact and started to encourage other residents to voice their concerns about this work. We also involved our local MP. Just a couple of very short questions about this compact. First of all, do you remember when it was formed?
When?
Yes.
I don't know exactly the year now, because, but at the beginning of the refurbishment.
Right. And do you remember who was in it or who led it?
It was Ed Duffern that I knew from before, but not so well, basically, through his immense work of getting to people, trying to get people aware of what was going on. And then there was another gentleman called David Collins that used to be, let's say, the chair together with Edward, and that's when I got involved as well.
Right. Was it solely related to the boilers, or were there other matters as well?
There were other matters as well, but the boiler was one of the biggest one.
Okay. Do you know whether some residents were unhappy, had concerns, but didn't want to join the compact?
If I may say so, many residents, they would, because of the language, because of the time, because of the not to have the hassle to have workers at home for so long to do the boiler in the original place, like near to the kitchen, they would accept the option that Rydon was offering them. So basically, it was a combination of things, but to many of us, it was a big factor that.
Okay. Well, we have many questions around that, but not for now, I think. But I just wanted to know those basic questions. Thank you very much. Now, we are all aware that you left the tower at approximately 06:05 after many hours in your flat. I want to say thank you very much to you for your assistance today. It's been invaluable to the inquiry. You've given us a lot of interesting evidence, which I hope we find very useful. Before we conclude, I'd like to invite you to tell the chairman whether there is anything further, over and above what's in your statements, over and above what you've told us today, that you think that the chairman should know about the events of that night?
Well, about the event of that night, we have spoken and we have heard so many things and many testimonies from firefighters, from residents, and so on. If I may say something, is because we were living in a big tower, high-rise building, council estate, social flats, and what my suggestion is that residents living in these conditions, which are, conditions, should not accept things imposed by local authorities from above, but should be part of any decision-making, in the sense that if you have to do a work or renovation or refurbishment, which is welcome, and you do it in our homes, in our houses, so we should be part of that committee or decision-making committee, and we have to be happy as well, because after all, we are paying our dues, and it is our lives that could be at risk, like it happened with Grenfell. So, and therefore, the reason I'm saying this is because obviously we do not know, absolutely never ever again, anything like this to happen to no one.
Mr. Roncolato, thank you very much for coming and giving us your evidence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Roncolato, I'd add my thanks. Your evidence is really helpful because it's only through people like you who were inside the tower that we can start to understand how the conditions were and how they developed. And if I may say so, you've given your evidence in a very clear and careful way, rather reflecting the calm way that you approached the terrible circumstances that you faced. And I'm sure your family who are here are very proud of you, and quite rightly. Well, thank you very much for coming to give your evidence.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, we'd like to go with the usher.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Millett.
Well, our next live witness is scheduled to come this afternoon.
Yes.
And that's Fatima Alves, Mrs. Alves. So we'll start her at 2 o'clock. But before we do that, may I read into the record a statement from Mr. Roncolato's son, Christopher.
Yes, thank you.
I should just say that after we've finished with Mrs. Alves's evidence this afternoon, there will be quite a lot of reading into the record, so I'll try and allow some time for that.
Right.
And I'm going to say something brief about disclosure of documents as well. So we do have a full day's work, even though it may be a slightly longer
Yes,
lunch.
thank you.
Christopher Roncolato's statement is IWS 840, and I would now formally put that into the record. There are 3 exhibits to it: IWS 836, 837, and 838. 836 is a floor plan for floor 10, and 837 and 8 are photographs taken while outside the tower. Christopher is the son of Antonio and also a resident of flat 72 on floor 10. He was not present at the time of the fire, but on his way home when he learnt of it, and we've heard about the call and various other calls that he made to his father during the course of the night. To give some context to the evidence we've heard today, Mr. Chairman, it's, I think, useful briefly to draw attention to some parts of his statement, if I may. He learnt of his fire, learnt of the fire on his...
Before we do, we don't need the usher immediately, do we?
No, we
No,
don't.
all right, thank you.
We don't. If I can quote from paragraph 42 of his statement,
Yes.
he says, I called my dad straight away. My phone records show that I made my first call to him at 1:42:34 for approximately 4 minutes.
Yeah.
I woke my dad, who'd been asleep in the flat and was not aware of the fire. His smoke detector had not gone off yet. I was effectively his fire alarm. And then to paragraph 59, he says, when I was speaking to my dad on the telephone after 5 a.m., I'll just wait for it to be shown. It's paragraph 59. And I'll read the next 3 paragraphs into the record specifically. When I was speaking to my dad on the telephone after 5 a.m., he told me to put someone in an official capacity on the phone who could tell him what to do. At that moment, I was sat in Jazum's car speaking to him. I headed back to the tower and kept my dad on the line. I managed to work my way round to the side of the block where our flat was, at the bottom of Grenfell Walk. I ran through the police cordon and told a police officer that my dad was alive and trapped on the 10th floor. He immediately took me to the fire marshal, who was in a booth by a fire engine. I explained the situation to the fire marshal and the fact that I was on my phone to my dad. He spoke to my dad and said that they were coming for him. He said he would organise a team to go and get him now. After this, the fire marshal handed the phone back, and I spoke with my dad briefly. I told him that I had a pair of swimming goggles in my bedroom drawer, and he should wear them to protect his eyes from the smoke when he left the flat. A short while later, my mum rang to say Dad was out of the building and on his way to hospital. This was such a massive relief. So, Mr. Chairman, that I think is all I need to read into the record from Christopher's statement.
Yes.
It is now there.
But I'm sure that Christopher will understand that the whole of his statement will form part of the evidence and will be taken into account.
Indeed.
With all the other evidence.
Indeed, and specifically the impact of the fire on him.
Yes, of course.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I'm very grateful. Might that be a convenient moment to take a rather lengthier lunch break than we otherwise would?
Yes. What time is Ms. Alves coming?
I would ordinarily ask you to come back earlier than 2 o'clock, but she's expecting to come at 2 o'clock, and I wouldn't want to disturb those expectations.
No, of course not. All right. Well, it is slightly earlier than usual, but it seems sensible to break now and have a rather longer than usual lunch break, and we'll resume at 2 o'clock.
I'm grateful. Thank you.
Right? Okay.
Thank you.
2 o'clock, then, please.